Hello, everyone. My name is Janine Ledesma, and I am a registered and accredited MRI technologist at the Swedish Cherry Hill campus in Seattle. I have worked at this facility for 28 years, the last 18 of which have been exclusively in the MRI department. The years of experience and knowledge that I've gained have really helped to guide and focus my capstone project, which was the development of an MRI What to Expect procedural pamphlet, which I will be talking to you about today. So what is MRI? MRI, or magnetic resonance imaging, is a diagnostic imaging modality which uses a superconducting magnet to produce very detailed, high-quality images of any body part. The one benefit to MRI is that there's no radiation involved to produce the images, such as in CT or X-ray. Some cons, however, are that it is very loud, takes a long time to acquire the data, and the space is quite confining, which causes claustrophobia in many patients. The machine is just very large and daunting. For my capstone project, I wanted to design a patient educational tool, a What to Expect procedural pamphlet, which would help to prepare patients for their upcoming MRI exams. Okay. So my objective, why I chose this project. Daily patients are arriving to the MRI department and they're unaware of what all the MRI entails. For many patients, just coming to the hospital is a very stressful experience. Finding parking, getting through the registration process, finding their way to the MRI department. And then I come out and introduce myself and start explaining the procedure to them. And, they already are fearful, have some anxiety, and are stressed. And I am bombarding them with, all the details of the exam. And many of them, hearing this information for the first time. It's a lot to take in and absorb when you're already, under this stress. And I'm telling them, you need to change, you're going to get an IV for contrast. It's going to be very long. And it causes more, their anxiety to raise and their fears to raise. And a lot of them are unable to successfully complete the exam or have it be of diagnostic quality when they're in this state of, fear and anxiety, and their claustrophobia is, taking control. So, I've designed this simple educational tool, which supports the patients and through written communication, and it's giving them the essential information that they need in order to have successful outcomes for their MRI exams. It also promotes safety and understanding of the process, and it encourages cooperation and engagement between the patient and the technologist along their care journey, which I feel is very important. So, why is educating patients about their MRI important? In my research, support services such as a simple educational tool that informs the patient about the procedure helps to decrease the amount of times that they don't arrive, they don't show up, they no-show, or reschedule their exams. It helps to increase the number of successful exams, especially when patients arrive and they know what to expect. They are mentally prepared. They can complete the exam and have it be of diagnostic quality without having to reschedule. This ultimately affects the hospital's financial bottom line as well. If patients can successfully complete their exams, then the staffing and support services needed are are great. However, if the patients no-show or reschedule, we have, machines sitting idle and technologists sitting idle, which, hurts the facility's bottom line ultimately. So these support services are very important in helping to keep the facility running smoothly and have successful outcomes for patients as well. So what did I do? I designed an educational procedural pamphlet for prospective MRI patients to the Cherry Hill campus. As you can see on this slide here, this is my pamphlet, the first page of my trifold pamphlet that I designed. I had it reviewed and approved by our medical director, Dr. Sasanto, as well as my other mentor, the MRI supervisor, Evelyn Alasa, and they were able to give me feedback and suggestions for improvement or areas of clarity, which I took into account and revised in order to make this very clear and concise for patients. I then felt it was necessary in order to reach like a broader base of patients that we see at the Cherry Hill campus to have my pamphlet translated into Cantonese and to Spanish. So what I did is I reached out to the manager of interpreter services, Kathleen Toe, and she was able to help me translate my pamphlet into these two languages, which is great for our patient population. So next what I did is I took my revised pamphlet and I ran 3 multi-week trials. The first trial was a patient survey of 10 to 20 patients. I had them read it pre-MRI and rate the usefulness for me. And as you can see by the graph, the pie chart, 50% of the patients that reviewed it rated it 3, very useful, and 25% moderately useful, and 25% slightly useful, giving it a 1. And I was able to get 12 patients for this first trial. The second trial, I had patients read and review my pamphlet after their MRI exam. This was a little bit harder to get patients to do. However, I was able to have 8 patients review my pamphlet post-MRI. And as you can see by the graph chart on this slide, I had 4 patients which gave it a usefulness of 3 rating. So again, 50% of the patients surveyed gave it a 3, very useful review. 2 gave it 2 at moderately useful, and 2 patients gave it a 1 slightly useful. And then lastly, my third trial was an assessment of the translated Cantonese and Spanish versions of the pamphlet, which I was able to get 3 native Spanish and 3 native Cantonese speakers to review the pamphlet and for clarity and usefulness. So in conclusion, all that were involved in this project, my mentors, Dr. Sasanto, my supervisor, Evelyn Alasa, interpreter services manager, even coworkers and patients, all felt that the pamphlet that I designed is overwhelmingly useful, clear, concise, and a good step-by-step explanation of what to expect for MRI. My manager, Evelyn Alasa, also felt for future usage, utilizing this pamphlet in the MRI waiting room would be helpful. Patients could read it before their MRI and be more prepared, which is great. I also see a good usage of this, greater impact perhaps at outpatient clinics where many of the patients are first-time customers, never having experienced MRIs before. It could be very useful in this type of situation. Future directions for my pamphlet. In the near future, I definitely see utilizing this in our Cherry Hill campus MRI waiting rooms. It would be very useful for patients waiting to go in for their MRIs. Next, I would definitely love to see expanded usage of my pamphlet at other Swedish campuses' MRI departments. So that's a possibility for in the future. I think it would be wonderful as well to disperse this pamphlet to some of the main referring clinics we get our patients from, such as the MS Center or the Neuroscience Institute, and have that available for their patients when they refer them for MRIs. Next, something for the future that I think would be wonderful would be to have a link generated when a patient schedules for their MRI. They can have a link sent to them with this what to expect for MRI information available to them to read before they come. And lastly, I would love to work with Kathleen, the manager of interpreter services, to have my pamphlet translated into even more languages to reach more of our patients that we see here at the Cherry Hill campus. I would like to thank everyone who helped me on this 5-year journey of reaching my Bachelor of Science degree. It's been long, and I'm glad to be across the finish line. I'd like to thank my husband and my children, my parents for encouraging me, my coworkers for listening to all my ideas, and for my professors for pushing me across this finish line. Thank you all. Some of the research methodology used for my project. All of the Bachelor's of Science courses kind of helped guide me and get me to the point of my final capstone, particularly a couple courses, HCML 310, Health Information Systems for Healthcare Managers, CMST 330, Intercultural Health Communications were very helpful. Lisa LaPointe, the Bellevue College librarian, also helped to find research articles which would be useful. My mentors and all their feedback on my project, as well as definitely Professor Perkages, who these last 2 quarters during the capstone project helped to motivate me and answer all my questions to get me across this finish line. Thank you very much. Here's some references.